Okay, so you want to know the best settings for the Logitech RS50 wheelbase and load cell pedals? Well, you've come to the right video because I've used Logitech G Pro for a long time. I'm used to changing the settings, and actually I've found some different tweaks that work better on the Logitech RS50. And I'm going to be doing this all in Gran Turismo. I'm actually not going into G Hub for this one. And a big thanks to Logitech G, because they asked me if I wanted to do this, and they're going to give something special away. So you're going to want to stay tuned to the end of this video, and big thanks to Logitech G for actually sponsoring this guides video. So first of all, we have here an 8Nm direct drive wheelbase and 75 kg load cell pedals. I want you to be able to make the most out of that equipment. You're paying for it. It's, you know, load cells are load cells. You get to brake using pressure and release using pressure. Direct drive can be very responsive. And you can see here I'm in Max Verstappen's car at the Nordschleife, and I've actually set this up to kind of be how I think Max Verstappen would set it up. So it's very responsive, it's very aggressive, it's very kind of raw, and it enables you to trail brake very well. Those are the things that I like doing in sim racing. And like I said, you can do all of this on your PlayStation. We're going to go into the settings here. So first things first, let's have a look at what I've done on the wheelbase. So there's a little button here that's bigger on the RS50 than it is on the Logitech G Pro. And if I go into this, you can see the settings. So we've got profile 1, that's the profile I'm using here. Firstly, strength. Keep it at 8Nm for me. Trust me on this one. I think it's really good at 8Nm, unless you have if you're a younger racer or you don't have the strength. I would say on average, keep it at 8Nm. On my Logitech G Pro, I would not be running it 100%. I think it gets to the points where I can't hang on. So for here, 8Nm is fine. Don't do it max on the G Pro. My G Pro settings are also around 8 or 9 Nm. So we got that at 8. If we go back here again, you can see True Force Audio. Another thing I have different to the Logitech G Pro. So on the G Pro, I have this about 15. Here, I have it at 100%. For me, the reason why I have it at 15 on my Logitech G Pro is that at 100% there, it shakes my whole rig. It's so powerful. I think at 100% it actually overpowers the sensations I should be feeling when I'm driving. However, on the RS50, I really like having it at 100%. Now, if you bought this wheelbase, I strongly recommend you drive down a straight and you turn all this the way down to 0, and you should feel it become extremely smooth and almost glass-like when you're driving on the tarmac. And as you scroll it back up to 100, you should start to feel the road have some texture. You should start to feel like little bumps in the road. It feels like you're driving on a little bit of an abrasive surface. So I really recommend you do that. You can see what True Force is about. I've always said I don't think True Force is a gimmick. And actually here, I think having it 100% for me is the best way, because when I go over curbs, you might hear, I get a really nice sensation. Again, I can feel when I'm on the grass, then it's kind of smooth like I had it before, so I can tell that my wheels are not on the tarmac, if that makes sense. And sometimes you can even sense that on the white line or when there's a different material here. So True Force, not a gimmick. I'm going to show you something else later that you should just make sure you've got in your Gran Turismo settings, because a whole lot of things to do in Gran Turismo as well. But let's keep going down here. So then we've got force feedback filter. I've just kept this at 15. So that I've kept at 15. However, a little bit of secret sauce here. The dampener I've turned off. I believe because you have a direct drive wheelbase, 8Nm, it's responsive. The motor's directly connected to this. There's no belts and gears and whatnot. I believe you should go for the most responsive feeling. Now that can mean that the wheel will oscillate when you kind of take your hands off it, whether you're going down a straight or you're stood still. But in real world racing, I don't take my hands off the wheel. When I was Mazda racing, I wouldn't take my hands off the wheel. So I believe in having this off and having the rawest, most authentic feel when it comes to your driving experience. That does mean that when you hit curbs, when you hit big pockets of camber, you will need to hold on to the wheel a little bit, but it's not overpowering. Again, on my G Pro, if I was to run all these settings on my G Pro, it'd probably be a bit too much. But on the RS50, especially in a car that has like kind of good suspension, so if you're doing this in a car with very hard suspension, it could also be too much. But in anything that's got good suspension, you're just really going to feel the bumps nicely. It's incredible. And the feeling I want, by the way, when I'm setting up a direct drive wheelbase and pedals, is I want to feel at one with the car. I don't want to be second guessing what my input is going to do on the car. I just want to know that there's no latency. I'm putting my inputs exactly as I'd expect, and the car's behaving as I'd expect as well. Okay, so that's why I've done the dampener off. Now if we go to the next setting, we've got angle. This angle, I think it's going to be 900 here. I believe it may be car specific. I've kept it at 900. It feels absolutely amazing here. Brake force. Now we're going to come back to this because this is the combination you need to do in the GT settings, but you can see here I've got it at 60. My message basically is that you're paying for 75 kg load cells. Let's make sure you get the most out of them. It should be a little bit difficult to get to 100%. A nice thing on the brake force screen here is you can actually see your brake indicator, but you can see that somewhere else as well. So we'll come back to brake force, but the next one is RPM mode. Now, I don't think this screen here, this rev band, is the best rev band. It's obviously Logitech G are putting this together for a certain price point, and we kind of got this blurry rev band. So because of that, I don't go left to right as I normally do. I believe the best way to run it is outside in. What that means is that you get this blue, it goes like yellow and then basically blue when you need to shift up. I'll show you here. And that for me is the best cue. It's a very subtle cue. It's kind of like just in the background. It's not individual LEDs, but I wouldn't go left to right here. And I think outside in is the best way to kind of work with this LED bar. So I've gone outside in. You can see you also have inside out or left to right or right to left. But I go for outside in so you know what I do. And then there are some other ones as well. So brightness, I would keep it at 100% because this is the only LED you've got here along with the power button. I just keep it at 100% unless you want to turn it off. I'd be interested to know if you want to turn it off, but for me 100%. And then there's some more ones down here which are interesting. So firstly on compatibility, I believe at the moment if you want to run this on F125 and Assetto Corsa on PlayStation, the best thing to do is switch compatibility to Pro Wheel. So Pro Wheel is there. If it's not working on RS Wheel, switch over to Pro Wheel. That's a top tip there. Platform as well, you can have it. I like it asking me on startup because it makes me realise that I've got it on multiple platforms. So I keep it on startup, but you can also default it to whatever you've got. You can check the firmware you're on. So like I said, this is not through G-Hub. I wanted to do a video that says all plug and play with a PlayStation because I believe that's where most people are going to be using it. So if you're watching this video, this is plug and play in a PlayStation. You can see the firmware. And then finally on this screen, before we get into GT and some really juicy stuff, on the home screen, you can see that you have these options. Now, I keep on dynamic because that enables me to see my brake input and my throttle input. To me, that's really important. A lot of the settings that I'm talking about here are kind of derived from my years of karting, also doing some real world racing as well. And testing your inputs is something that I do all the time in rental karting when I'm doing arrive and drive. I'm in a different car often every race. You swap between heats and and then the grand final. I'll always on the outlap, I'll always be testing the brakes 100% to see what kart I've got. So it's my intrinsic thing here when I'm on the grid. I'll just do a little test. And yes, you often have it on the screen, but sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's difficult to see. And it's often really helpful to see what do you have exactly in the wheelbase itself. However, there is a little party trick. If you go down here, you can also put it on torque. And that's quite interesting because you can see how much torque is going through the wheel. So you can test that you're getting your full 8 Newton meters. If you do have an issue with your torque not showing correctly, this is going to be a really good place to diagnose it. Okay, so let me put that back to the dynamic one, and you're going to see why. Because you also want to go into settings here. There's 2 places. And by the way, I believe, I've done these settings videos for lots of different wheelbases and pedals. I genuinely believe, and I get lots of comments, people saying it's made me 1, 2, 3 seconds faster. I would say at least this is a 20% increase in your feeling of driving over poorly calibrated settings. I'll stand behind that. I believe this is going to make it at least 20% better. Let's go into settings. So first things here in controller settings, you want to make sure that you are adjusting your torque and sensitivity accordingly. This is what I have. So max torque, 10 and 2 on the force feedback sensitivity. You know that I change these per brand a lot of the time. This is what I think is absolutely best for the RS50 at the moment. So I quite like that. Again, not sure I'd run that on my G Pro at the moment, but that's what we're running here. Now, a few other settings you need to go, and then I'll explain how it comes together. I'll show you at pace, as they say. So we come here. So the first thing is you want to go to controllers and go to this one. Because this is a True Force wheel, and again, you're paying for True Force, I would just have all of this on at 100%. Just in case it doesn't link with True Force, just keep that on. I wouldn't turn those off. And then this is the magic one you want to come to. Again, this is all on the PlayStation. This isn't connecting to a PC, because I know there's lots of people that I meet at events who buy equipment and say, will it work on the PlayStation without a PC? So let's see here. So this is what it should look like. Your screen should look like this when your setup is like this. So when you're off the pedals and the wheel's straight, it should look like this, okay? And you can see that when I turn the wheel, it matches on to what we've got. Now, if that is not matching on correctly, you're going to need to do some calibration. You may there need to go onto a PC and go into G-Hub, okay? Just to let you know. Now, the brake and accelerator, you can actually do all here. So when I go to 100%, 100% on the throttle, the right pedal. When I go to 100%, 100% on the brake. And I'm going to get really deep into this and explain it, because I think I have some experience from, again, my real world racing that I want to share with you. So, pedal calibration, if for whatever reason there was an issue there, it was flickering or it wasn't getting to 100%, or you just want to recalibrate just to be safe, this is where you go. We'll do the throttle first because it's nice and simple. So you can see I don't have a minimum input. I don't have a dead zone at the moment. It just seems to work for me even when I'm resting without a dead zone. So I'm actually resting on the pedal now and there's no input, which is great. And then I'm going to go to 100%. Okay? And that's my pedal calibrated. Don't mess around after that because it will also mess the calibration. But also please don't worry about this. You can always redo it simply. So don't stress about this page. It's super simple. So that's that calibrated. I don't need a dead zone, but if I added a dead zone here, it would make it easier for me to rest on the pedal without it registering an input. And we'll get onto that for the brake. So I'm going to recalibrate that, like I said, no problems. Now let's get onto the all-important brake, where I have put a dead zone. The most important thing for me, and I'm going to put brake force back on. The most important thing for me, if you're buying load cell pedals, you want to take advantage of them. So load cell pedals, they register pressure, not just the travel of the pedal. And for me, I think there's a misconception here. The most important thing is actually for me not getting to your braking threshold using pressure, but it's actually often the controlled way you release the brake that enables you to do magical things with the car. So pivot the car, because braking in a straight line is not that difficult. And to be honest, in Gran Turismo, braking in a straight line is just smash it 100% because you've got ABS a lot of the time. Where the magic is, you want to rotate the car to get a good exit. It's all about the rotation. And so being progressive coming off the pedal is really important. And to do that, I believe you want to be using different muscle groups right around here. Okay, so here I'm using one muscle group. You can probably see from my face. But then when I get here, I'm activating some different muscles. This is all my belief, by the way, for my real world racing and karting and everything. And that means that signifies to me that when I need to brake at 100%, I'm going to be using all those muscles. So if I'm steaming down Monza, I get to the 150 board, I want to brake as late as possible, like really as late as possible, so I'm going for a top 100 time in the world. I'm going to pick my braking marker and I'm going to engage those muscles and get to 100%. Now, because of that, it's really easy to control the drop-off because it's about disengaging those muscles there. So I have a lot of control in this area, which means I can adjust my braking. For example, if I've braken a little bit too early, I can just roll off the brake a little bit like this and then go back on it. And you'll see me in my streams do that quite a lot, where I'll be just adjusting the brake pressure in the braking zone. The other reason this is important is that if I don't want to be braking 100%, sometimes I just want to use the brake to manipulate the car a little bit. I want to get a bit of rotation. I want to scrub a bit of speed. Then I don't want to be engaged. I don't want to be at 100%. That's going to be too much for the car. So I know by engaging these muscles, I'm going to be around here. So I can do a short, sharp input on the car, help the car pivot. So that's really important. Let me know in the comments if you found that helpful, because it's something that I think is not spoken a lot about in sim racing, weirdly. So we're going to calibrate this. We're going to go to 100%, and you can see that my dead zone is at 2%. So when I'm resting on the pedal, I'm not hitting it. Okay, so, and this, by the way, this goes into brake force, because if I change my brake force, let's say I change my brake force to go to 100%, it's probably going to be too difficult for me to get to 100% in game now. That's too difficult for me, which is really interesting because I was thinking the 75k load cell, how am I going to find it compared to my 100kg G Pros? But it's absolutely fine. But I wouldn't be able to do it 100%. Similarly, if I go to something like 20, and I believe this defaults when you get out of the box at like 30, it's too easy for me to get to 100%. It's going to be very difficult for me to modulate pressure there. I'm not taking advantage of the load cell. So everyone's going to be different here. Unlike the wheelbase that I recommend at 8 Newton meters generally, this is going to be a lot of personal preference. So set your brake force here and then calibrate it. Okay? You don't do it in. Don't just change your brake force and then not calibrate it. You need to do both. So I've got 60 and I'm calibrated like that. Okay? Right, now what I want to do is I want to show you this in anger. Right, here we go then. In Max Verstappen's car at the Nordschleife, I'm going to explain how all these settings come together. Remember, I've set this up to be raw and responsive. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be comfortable. It's going to be a bit of a roller coaster, but it is going to be fast. Okay, I promise you that. Look at this. Unbelievable. So again, that's what I'd call a certified direct drive moment. We're going to have certified direct drive moments. We're going to have certified load cell moments as well. Because ultimately, you know, if you've worked hard and you've bought something like this, I want you to be getting the most out of it. Oh, what a move up the inside of the McLaren there. You want to be feeling one-to-one. You don't want to be second-guessing what's going to happen when, you know, I brake or I do the steering input. You just want to feel like you know what's going to happen, if that makes sense. And that applies whatever speed you're driving at, whether you're right at the top or whether you're starting out, you at least want to have a one-to-one experience. You can see they're hitting that curb. I know what that's doing to the car because I'm getting quite a big shock. Now at 8 Newton meters and what I've got set up with the dampener, that's not a problem, I can handle it. But I want to know what the car's doing. And here, look at my braking input. See, right near the top. Another thing I didn't mention is that often you don't want to quite be at 100%. And this applies for actually a lot of the more in-depth sims in Gran Turismo. That will actually harm your tyre wear, it can overheat things. So a lot of the time, unless you are steaming into Turn 1 Monza, you really want to be modulated. Everyone's coming off. Oh my... No! What is going on? What is going on here? Interestingly, that car ahead of me, I've actually driven at the Nordschleife in real life. I've driven this circuit in that car, IRL. So, and now when I drove that, I had no idea that I'd be making a guide with Logitech G on their latest wheelbase and pedals. How cool is that? And again, big thanks to Logitech G for sponsoring this video. There is going to be a giveaway near the end, so I'll let you know about that. You don't want to miss it. Whether you're actually thinking about buying this, you've already bought it, or you're just curious, it's going to apply for everyone. So again, a big camber change here. I want to feel it, and I do. And that lets me know what I should be doing with my right foot. Here, I don't want to be braking 100%. I'm just using the brake to manipulate the car. Again, here, not yet, but then we're going to hit the brake hard here. Do you see? I want to hit the brake hard there. I want to ride the curbs. I want to feel it. Look at that Suzuki ahead of us, hitting all those curbs. And again, if you've got a car with good suspension, like Verstappen's one here, running a little bit wide, massive camber change here. Now, I have had a conversation with the people at Logitech G talking about True Force, talking about direct drive. And, you know, when I've driven cars in real life, there's a lot of sensations that you don't get through the wheel. You actually get through the seat, you get through your butt. So when you do this, I always forget to brake it. I always forget to brake. When you go through this section here, trust me, you're getting pushed around your seat. We don't get that in a sim. We just don't get it in a sim. And so Logitech G's philosophy, as I understand it, is you kind of get a lot of those sensations through the wheel. And that makes it immersive. So just to help you understand why are you getting vibrations through the wheel? Well, in real life, you'd be getting a lot of those vibrations through the seats. But in real life, in sim racing, we don't have that. So I believe it's more immersive to get it through the wheel. Now, what is this rolling roadblock here? Can we do something absolutely redonkulous? Oh, the Aston Martin clearly does not have crew force, because he hit that curb and it did not end well for the Aston. I've never seen scenes like this in Gran Turismo. It's a bit of a minefield. Now we're going to go into the carousel here. Again, really nice. The 8 Newton meter there for me just gives me enough to play with in the corner. To be honest, I felt like Logitech G were going to come out with a 5 Newton meter. They came out with an 8 and I was like, oh, that's surprising. But I do get it now because you do have enough sustained in there. And in fact, what I might do is I might try and show you... This is a terrible idea. Don't do this at home. There we go. I'm going to show you the torque now, so you can see what the torque's like. As I've been stuck behind the Suzuki for a long time. You can hear the curbs rattling. Nice bit of loading there that I could feel. And again, you just won't have... Obviously, you won't have any of that without force feedback. This is a completely different experience. I just personally love, because from my karting, I like running over curbs. And running over curbs in karting can be painful, by the way. In sim racing, it's not painful, so you just get that pleasurable sensation of the vibrations, like here. It rewards you often. If you're using curbs in the right way, like running over left-hand side here, you're using the full width of the track. And I'm having a great experience because everything's set up correctly. It's a poor exit. We're going to be all over you. There is a bit of a jump here. Oh, my days, man. This is... I'm just doing a guide video. I'm fighting for my life. I have to say, look, honestly, anyone who knocks Gran Turismo as not being a simulator, this is incredible. Oh, no. That's ridiculous. That's obscene. That should not be allowed. I feel like we have to go for the win. This is a difficult corner, this one. Again, you can see the load cell. I'm able to modulate that. I don't want to be braking here 100%. I don't need to. That's just not going to be the most efficient way of getting around that corner. And then into the mini carousel. And are we going to get this done? Are we going to win this race? This is going to be the test of how the settings are. If you've enjoyed this video, by the way, make sure you subscribe, because in the description should be the details, and this is crazy. So like I said, big thanks to Logitech G for a giveaway for the Logitech G RS50. Now all the details will be in the description, because there will be eligibility requirements like age and territory. So make sure you read all of those. But it is a giveaway. Someone is going to win the Logitech G RS50, which is incredible. So if you've already bought one, still enter it. If you're thinking about buying one, still enter it. If you're just curious and you want a controller, definitely enter it, because they're giving away one of these wheelbases and you're going to know how to set it up. So how cool is that? Giving it back to the community with some good setups as well. I'll tell you what, we're actually going to win this race. We're going to get that cheeky dub. So you know what to do. Make sure you're subscribed. Check the link for eligibility, and if you're eligible, then enter it. And now you're an expert on this wheelbase, you can also have one as well, and the pedals maybe. Check the description, and I'll see you in the next one.